Hello, dear friends. We are delighted that you're able to join us for a meditation session with Daaji, the global guide of heartfulness. Behind me are 30,000 people from all over the world who are about to meditate together in silence. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I would like to take you through the process of heartfulness meditation. The unique feature about heartfulness meditation is yogic transmission. This is what supports and makes us dive deeper in our meditation. When Daaji arrives to conduct this session, he will simply say, "Please start meditation." After half an hour or so, he will say, "That's all," and you may open your eyes whenever you feel like. During this half an hour, this is the process that you may follow. Gently close your eyes and relax. Turn your attention inwards and look at yourself, observe yourself for a moment. Then, put a supposition that the source of light, which is already present inside your heart, is attracting you from within. Do this in a very gentle and natural way. You need not concentrate. If you find yourself going towards other thoughts, if your awareness is drifting away, simply bring back your attention to the light inside your heart. Feel immersed in this light in your heart and remain absorbed for as long as you can. With this, I let you experience heartfulness meditation for yourself. Thank you.
Angeles. A hearty welcome to all the 30,000 Heartfulness meditation practitioners who are assembled in this place, Kanha Shantivanam, located near Hyderabad, India. Also a very warm welcome to all the Heartfulness practitioners who have joined us through the web across 131 countries, hundreds and thousands of people who have been meditating with us today, celebrating the birthday of our global teacher, also called as revered Daaji. For those who have participated for the first time across the globe, Heartfulness meditation is a very simple, heart-based meditation practice assisted by the pranahuti, or the transmission of the energy from the source through the global teacher, which helps us to progress faster towards our spiritual goals. On this auspicious occasion, we have a very special speaker who is going to address us today, and I would request Brother James Joseph to come to the stage to introduce this very special guest.
Beloved Daaji, dear sisters and brothers, I have the honor and privilege to introduce our eminent guest here, Dr. Partha Nandi, who has come all the way from Michigan, USA, to address all of us. He's a full-time practicing gastroenterologist, internist, and a health hero activist. He has a very successful TV show called Ask Dr. Nandi, a medical lifestyle show whose mission is to improve the health of America and the rest of the world with compassion, empathy, and integrity. Dr. Nandi has been associated with Heartfulness as a speaker in the Detroit Heartfulness Conference in 2016 and as an anchor in the New Jersey Heartfulness Conference in 2016 again. He has written a wonderful book called Ask Dr. Nandi. It's 5 steps to becoming your own health hero for longevity, well-being, and a joyful life. He has referenced heartfulness in this book. He has talked about his experiences of heartfulness, and he's been a practitioner and an ambassador of heartfulness wherever he goes to speak. I now invite him to give us a synopsis of his book and also tell us how he has experienced heartfulness as a practitioner. Dr. Nandi.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Thank you, Daaji, as always. What an amazing crowd. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all of you and just what transpired in the last 45 minutes. I wish not only in the US, but the world could see what I'm seeing. Huge round of applause for all of the organizers for Heartfulness and all of you that are coming from all parts of the world and all the other countries. So I appreciate and I'm really humbled by your presence. So as a practicing physician, why am I so passionate about what we're talking about today. Let me tell you about William, my patient in the United States, who came in to see me for a simple attack of back pain. Started in March. By December, addicted to pain medications. By February of the next year, he almost lost his life. He was admitted to the hospital with an overdose. And so this is what I see every day. But William is not alone. There are so many countless people like William. Do you know, in the United States, every 3 weeks, the same number of people are dying from opiates and narcotic abuse as they did in 9/11. Every 3 weeks, people are dying from what William almost died with. And that's the reason why I wanted to write this book. Because when patients come and see me and they have a side effect from the medication, guess what they want? Another medication, another procedure, another surgery, another technique. And what I offer to them is that we need less medications and, as you know, more meditation. Less medications, more meditation. One study showing that if you meditate, if you have opiate drug abusers, and you actually introduce them beginning level meditation, reduce the dose of opiates by a half. And if you actually have experienced practitioners, you can reduce it by 3/4. I was very blessed that I learned about heartfulness with the guidance of Daaji, Mr. Madhav Reddy, Mr. James Joseph, Mr. Sanjay Segal. They helped me understand heart-centered meditation and how important it is. And that's one of the 5 steps that I write in my book. I write about 5 simple steps in which you can really change your life for wellness and health. And I write an entire chapter about cultivating your mind. And in that, I introduce the idea of heartfulness to people all around the world. And here's why that's important. Not just the story of William, but we know everything we do, whether it's work, whether it's your health, whether it's wellness, will be increased significantly, 50 to 75% if you meditate. We took a mobile meditation unit in the Detroit Police Department, one of the most stressful jobs in the planet. Within minutes, heart rate and blood pressure were down. Within 2 months, even when they were not meditating, their vital signs were better. And this is what we're offering. 5 simple steps, not to do more and more medications, but rather to use simple techniques to change your life. I think we can really empower the planet to do this. And your presence here is such a testament to the world that we can do it together. So I appreciate and I'm so humbled by the invitation of Daaji and all the organizers from Heartfulness. Have a wonderful rest of the meeting. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandi. It's indeed our privilege to have listened to this wonderful talk from a different perspective. It so happens that today Dr. Nandi he is going to be available, and the book that he showed to you on the screen is going to be available in the HFN Live stall, and he has made it a special offer that for all those who get the book today, he will personally order. Now Revered Daaji will address us.
Namaste, everyone. I've been caught up in a whirlpool of thoughts. These are not the recent thoughts that troubles me, but it has always troubled me. Why such and such a thing happens to a noble person, people who are so good. Especially the life of Mother Sita. Often one wonders, what did she do wrong? That she was rejected twice, openly, or maybe thrice, and many times, who knows, in the closed doors of the palace. When such a marriage was prophesied by great rishi like Vasishtha, that these are the perfect matches, nothing can go wrong. But their whole life was packed with misery. To the extent that Lord Rama, no less a person than Avatara Purusha, had to reject his wife so many times. The old knower had to do such a thing. Philosophers give all kinds of logical reasons and explanations, but nothing satisfies the heart. Until one comes across Sahaj Marg. Even in Sahaj Marg, a lot of things are misunderstood by people. Especially things like, oh, Master knows everything. It's a big misnomer. No, he doesn't know everything. Can he know everything? That's a different matter altogether. Some abhyasis, they expect that Master should know everything, because why? So that when he knows everything, my life can be streamlined with happiness and harmony. You are indirectly relinquishing your personal responsibility on someone. You adore him so that he would take up your responsibility. You adore him, you worship him, you meditate with him for a selfish reason, that my life will be peaceful and harmonious. Extremely wrong. Our life is guided by our hearts. Our heart is constantly changing like a weather clock. Based on the samskars. And if samskars were everything, if my destiny was everything, if gods who decide my future was everything, then I would have finished my life long before. I would not have had any requirement, any need to take birth after birth. It would have ended long time back. So this fundamental question keeps coming. Vasishtha Muni fixed this, and so many people suffered, including two actors in the whole epic. The main ones, Rama and Mother Sita. I would like to, before I go further into this aspect of our destiny and our freedom to choose, if my destiny is fixed, then what am I making choices for? And the choices that I'm making, is it also destiny based? If it is not the case, then what is the role of or the importance of detaching myself, relinquishing myself from desires? We would not have any need to offer a prayer to prevent our future samskars by pleading with God and say, "My Lord, please help me. These desires that I have are creating problems for me. They are the only thing that is preventing my progress." Samskars, they are from the past. They do trouble me. But what about these desires which are in my control, which is in my present environment? With these desires, I would be interfering with my destiny. If you say that samskars are everything, which I'm not ready to believe, that is another misnomer Sahaj Margis have, that samskars are everything. No. We have freedom to choose. Let me give one example. You want an iPhone. From where did this samskar come? I want an iPhone. There was no iPhone before to create a samskar I knew. Where did it come from? It falls in a category of samskar called acquisitiveness, which affects the point A. It could be iPhone or it could be anything else. This acquisitiveness in its turn creates many other impulses, tendencies. We expect our children to be loyal. No, that will be a wrong move. Our friends should be loyal. Children should be obedient. Spouses should be loving. But what happens when the whole equation starts changing? Children starts loving instead of obeying you. You get trapped in that love. Children starts blackmailing you. They don't listen, and you are okay because they love you so much, you are not able to discipline them. They came with particular baggage of samskars, but I am not able to groom them according to those samskars, and as a consequence, the whole family suffers. And all those associated with the family also suffers, friends and other extended family members. When Lord Rama tried to test her purity and says, "You were with Ravana for 3 years. Prove that you did nothing wrong." Omniscient Lord asks such a question. Justification is that the world should see. World should be convinced. I am doing it for the sake of the world. World must be convinced that such a king's wife is pure. Mother Sita had no arguments. She knew she was whatever she was, pure. She could walk through fire with confidence and prove her sanctity, purity. She could have asked Lord Ram, my beloved, you were also 3 years away from me. What did you do in the jungle alone? Isn't it? But she was speechless. She could not believe. And for them to go into jungle for one, he did it out of obedience to his father. So now the question arises, is obedience that good? To raise children, when they disobey for wrong reasons or right reasons, we take that hurt in our hearts and we don't speak because we are being blackmailed by their love. Where would the guidance come from? Where would the interference would come from? Intervention would come from when children deny the wisdom of parents. In this scenario, Lord Rama could have done something. I accept her as she is. I have full confidence. Prior to going to Vanvas, this was not at all in their astrological charts as foreseen by Rishi Vasisth. Perfectly happy couple. But what happened? You are not the only one. I am not the only one in this equation of leading a life. I am being influenced. The decisions are made on my behalf by so many people. In that case, father made the decision who was influenced by another wife, Kaikai. You all know the story. What I'm trying to bring to your attention is this interference changes the destiny of another person. He didn't have such a fate, such a destiny in his fortune, but somebody else turned it around, and rest of the epic speaks for itself. The second avatar of Lord Krishna changes everything. He says, you may perform your duty as a king, but not to satisfy or not to make the public happy. You have to do your duty as prescribed. Hundreds of times he tells Bhishma, you are doing the wrong thing. There is nothing like kingdom. There is nothing like loyalty to Hastinapur. Our loyalty is to truth, to dharma. You take the side of what is right, satyam. He doesn't understand all these concepts. He is still living in the Ramarajya times. Ayodhya, loyalty, Hastinapur, loyalty. And he introduces a great concept that even if you perform karma, your actions, out of some motive, then that particular action will turn out to be a sinful act for you. Though you may have a very noble, very pious intentions behind that action. But at the bottom of it, you wanted to gratify yourself and say, oh, I did something very good today. And this aspect of doing good things to satisfy oneself of having done a good job promotes, fuels your own ego. And as we know, ego is the biggest culprit that keeps us away from each other. And not only away from each other, separate from each other, but keeps us separate from the source itself. Let me give you an example. Think for a moment an ocean, big ocean. And put an earthen pot. It will get filled up. Water inside that pot and water outside in the ocean is the same. Let me give you another example. You have seen these balloons, Sahaj and another balloon there, Heartfulness or HFL Life. There is air inside and there is air outside, separated by the plastic. We are like those earthen pots and balloons with our own individual existence, immersed in the universal existence. We are like that earthen pot in the ocean, the same individual floating in the entire existence. And Babuji Maharaj says that we became like that pot and that balloon by our own creation, individualized creation. And that first began with a separation. In Christianity also they say, the first separation, the first sin. It is the separation that creates the sin. How to unite back? Sahajmar comes to our rescue, it explains to us how to transcend the ego. It is easy to say, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phalesu kadachanam. Very easy statement. You can understand it also. And even when we try to heartfully, very sincerely try to implement it, it becomes very difficult. Even simple things like, I have to go for lunch after this meeting. Don't I have to plan? I have to walk, I have to think which way to go. And I have to think many times in which direction I should go so that I don't disturb many people who are walking around. So the goal is always in the sight, whether it is a big goal or a small aim. It is always there in the mind. How can I not think of fruits before I engage myself into any actions? Why wouldn't I think of salvation or liberation or going beyond liberation and not attempt to meditate? We are attempting all these exercises of meditation, cleaning, constant remembrance, attending so many bandaras with a hope, with a goal in mind. Is not the goal fruit of your action for which you are committing action? You cannot say, forget the results. I have to keep that in mind. Babuji says, always keep the highest in your mind. Keep the goal in your mind. And lead a lifestyle of such an order to fulfill and match that noble goal. If you are less than that, then you will fail. So fruit of the action, fruit of our dhyana, fruit of our all these lifestyle changes that we are making in order to sublimate our ego and to unite with the highest principle, and we say being one with that entity. It is not possible unless and until we achieve that special merger. And you know how the water in the earthen pot can merge in the ocean, break the earthen pot, destroy that. The earthen pot inside us is all related to consciousness. There is no special entity called ego in us. Can you pinpoint and say, ego is here in me? No. It is all, it has everything to do with our consciousness. If suns and stars were not there in the sky, what would have happened? Imagine this before the creation, what must have been the color of the space. That's why Babaji writes, there was darkness within darkness before the creation. There was no light, it was all darkness. Upanishads and Vedas, they praise light so much. From darkness to light. Nothing wrong with it when we understand light as knowledge, light as realization, light as understanding. Coming back to this aspect of being one, think for a moment, what will I be if I were two? Within my own consciousness, if I were two individual being, already I have so many problems with being one. Jagjit Singh also, I think, has sung about this एक दिल, दो दिल होता तो क्या होता मेरा? एक दिल से इतना तड़प रहा हूँ तो दो दिल होता तो परेशान मर जाना पड़ता. There will be a polarity in my existence. There will be schism. And such individuals are called bipolar. You don't know who you are at any given moment. Then there will be a tragedy. There is no union. But being one in Sahaj Marg has a different meaning to each individual. When we meditate for the first time, the oneness that is felt is different. The peace that we feel is different from the oneness that one feels when one enters Brahman Mandal, or peace that one feels while on 12th point. In the lower regions, in the second point especially, the peace that we have, Shanti, it is very intense. Yet, the peace that is felt at the 12th point is so different. It has no contradiction to it. There is no opposite to it. In Pind Pradesh, from 1st to the 5th point, all these polarities, all these opposites remain. As one moves into cosmic region in Brahman Mandal, there is a unity of a different order. Purusha and Prakriti, positive and negative, opposites, dvandvas, panchabhutas, they end before we enter the cosmic region. And here one can appreciate when one enters Brahman Mandal, not in the beginning, but somewhere after crossing the 8th point. One can truly appreciate the definition of brahmacharya. What is brahmacharya? जो ब्रह्म में लीन हुआ है, one who dwells in Brahman all the time. It has nothing to do with celibacy. One who no longer thinks and moves, but one who expands and contemplates. And Parabrahman is something beyond it. That's when this brahmacharya matures, where opposites end. Purusha and Prakriti merges. Celibacy is Purusha and Prakriti must stay away. In brahmacharya, they two actually merge. You transcend. You're not opposing it, you're transcending it by uniting with it from inside. There is no qualms, there are no quarrels inside, for or against, for Purusha or Prakriti. Everything settles down. One finds absolute oneness from inside, though there may be so much of contradictions all around us. So oneness now that is felt in cosmic or in Parabrahman Mandal, that also dissolves at some level. As long as I remain the way I am, full of myself, full of ego, I create my own individual existence, separating myself from rest of the godly kingdom. Sublimating my ego dissolves its barriers. I become one with all. I become one with everything. Such a person who becomes one with all, one who sees all in one, though he may be alone, he may be perceived as being an alone individual, is always with the Lord. Yet, there is still a defect of at some level. Oneness ipso facto conveys an idea of duality. One of my friend's son's name is Advait. Very fine name, I like it so much. It does not mean duality or the one that doesn't have duality. It means there is no second, always one. One unique, one inside yourself. You are one individual, wholesome entity. One who is not partisan by this and that. One who is not affected by likes and dislikes. Who is no longer suffering the gravitation pulls of Pinda Pradesh. Babuji's dream is to bring about such oneness, such a unity, though we are individually separate individuals, but he liked to see us dissolve into each other. Be harmonious, respect each other at least. And with this harmony, with this unity, we will be able to create and trigger the new society. There's a lot of talk on mutation. Mutation is the fastest way of evolution. The way the genetic pattern is in me, whatever I have inherited from my parents, it is fixed. It is as fixed as my destiny. But we have seen, we have freedom of choice. I can change my destiny. I can change my genetic pattern. Let me give an example. When you're angry, very angry, what happens to your thoughts? They become erratic. What happens to your heart rate? What happens to your blood pressure? Whatever happens affects also our mind. And mind is not the neutral witness to all this that happens inside. It also affects the physical structure of the brain. What happens when I'm afraid? What happens when I'm depressed? What happens when I'm anxious? What happens when I'm so happy and joyful? What happens when I'm so inwardly peaceful? What happens to the fetus inside the mother, whose mother is so reverential, whose mother is so understanding, whose mother is so wise, who is always so peaceful, who is always so compassionate. It is said that compassion, empathy, releases certain levels of neurotransmitters that promotes health, that promotes good moods, that changes the emotional states. So imagine the lasting effects mothers can create, not just by transferring the genetic codes to the fetus, but also continuously goes on changing. Even the little genetic fixed pattern is given. What they call in science today is the effect of the surrounding, effects of mother's thoughts, effects of father's thoughts, effects of the surrounding means everything. The television, the behavior, intentions that change everything. I referred to you before also that how in India, especially in earlier days, almost 3-4 decades back, I witnessed it in my village. When the housewife gets pregnant and parents realize, oh, she's now pregnant, they send her to Maika, to her parents' place. Not that she is not wanted, but that's where she'll find more peace. She'll be left happier there. She'll not have to work in the fields so much, because then our society was largely an agrarian society. Imagine a pregnant mother has to work all the time. When will she give time, creative time, quality time to the fetus growing inside? So our elders were very wise, very scientific. They made a rule out of it. They made religious rituals out of it. That once it is recognized, they'll do some homam or rituals and then send her away. So this is how the ritual came into being. So the environment can be changed. Though the genes that were transferred were fixed, father and mother's gene, but now the environment will play a major role in the fetus development. So the external thing change the genetic pattern. Just as genetic pattern can be changed by the atmosphere, genomes which are fixed, but epigenomes can be changed. Likewise, destiny, our faith, our samskars, they may be fixed, but they all can be changed. We have freedom to choose. So, in simple sentences, I would suggest to entertain this idea of oneness by always reminding yourself, what if I was not one? If that oneness is not within me, within myself, if that oneness is not there within my heart and my mind, if this eclipse of conscience is not there, my mind says something, my heart says something, then I'll be that bipolar personality. They must match. When I don't like something, say I don't like it. I like something, be hearty about it and say I like these things. We begin with these simple truths in our lives. Nothing extraordinary, nothing great. This is being truthful. Whatever I have in my heart, I share it. Whatever you have in your heart, you share it with others. It's a simple exercise to start with. And see how this being truthful helps us evolve so fast. When you like the meditation, as I said the other day, remember these 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. First acquire the condition by meditating. What do you do after acquiring it? Do you want to throw it away? Hold on to it. Enrich it by enlivening it. Give life to it by ruminating over it again and again. Enliven it. And imbibe it to every cell and ultimately to your heart. Be one with it. Be one with that. And bring about the union with the one who gives us this. It's very simple. Please remember this. Every meditation, every condition that we acquire, we must be able to enliven it, imbibe it, and then unite with it. Be one with it. Only my oneness within myself, my heart and mind's oneness, will create oneness all around. Just as if I'm not at peace, how can the world be at peace? World may be at unrest, but if I'm at peace, that is better, a little bit better than the other thing. And many individuals, when they are at peace, there will be world peace. But I cannot influence peace on somebody consciously or with direct efforts. Just as I was telling you about obedient children, loving wives or husbands, and loyal friends. Can you have them? We are all suffering with this lack. When I personally cannot influence my dearest ones, how can I influence my neighbor? That does not mean that we are all important people who cannot change the world. It is sufficient that I change myself. That is more than enough. We try to change the world, we will fail. Heartfulness movement is not about changing the world. Of course, the world will change when the people embrace meditation. The other day, I said at length how joy is possible only when there is peace at an individual level. I cannot be joy, seeing others person peace when I am myself disturbed. So individual peace is very important, and individual peace is possible when I have harmony within myself and with my surrounding. And how is this harmony going to be possible unless I have a contemplative mind? Contemplative mind must be backed by focused thinking. And focused thinking is possible only when I meditate. So it's a vicious cycle. See? This oneness brought about by joy is possible finally when we meditate with love. Thank you.
Evening satsang will be at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.